So I think we're technically afternoon, so I will say good afternoon and reintroduce myself. I'm the interim superintendent for Lakeville area schools, and my name is Michael Bauman. And I am here with
Emily McDonald, assistant superintendent. Thank you.
So a couple things, Krista, before I get started. Let's see, you called me old. Fair. New, which I like better. And somebody else said, I don't know that they were calling me, but I'll have to just take it for everybody, official. Yuck. But here I am, and I want to just say to everybody here, there's some very special people in this room. I'll try to stay a little composed, but yeah, it's good to see you. It's good to see all of you again, and I appreciate you being here. So thank you so much for giving us the time and attention. I also want to make sure our two servers that have been working hard, let's just give them a round of applause. And then to the McDonald family, I got to wear these. Do you have a pill or anything? It started about age 40, and I'm way past 40 now. So, but I leave them all over the house and in the car and somewhere, and I can never find them when I need them. But right now, I'm good. So, thank you. All right, I guess I don't like leaning into a microphone, so I'll just go with this. Last thing I'll just say is I apologize for the technical part, but back in the Army, we used to always say you got to get the ON, OFF switch in the ON position. So some of you might have to think about that a while, and if you have to think about that a while, you might be a good candidate for a lieutenant in the United States Army. All right, where am I at? I am in Lakeville at the Holiday Inn, and let's roll. Introductions we did. I want to also, some of our board members are kind of all over the place here. I wanted you to get a good look, and if at the end of this you have an opportunity to please say hello and thank you to them for their service. It's a tough job, it's demanding, and we're grateful that we have servants like this in our community, so thank you so much. I think Krista introduced them all already, so we won't do that. Then, I do want to also, please take a good look at this wonderful group. They are all around you. They are in our buildings. They are in our district office, and we love everything that they do. Please say hello, and maybe if you feel it, a thank you to them as well. They're a terrific staff, and I've been back like I think 18 days or 19 days or something like that, and they've been extremely welcoming and re-assimilating me very professionally, and I appreciate that, but please appreciate them as well. And then to one more thing to Krista. Yeah, Tim and Justin and I worked real hard on Lakeville Works, but oh my, what a wonderful refinement, improvement, and growth. Thank you so much for that. And it's been a great partnership. It'll continue to be a great partnership. Just don't call me old so much. All right. All right, let's talk a little bit. Our purpose. Our purpose matters individually, and it matters organizationally. And what we are really focused on, or attempting to be focused on, and working toward, is the opportunities for our young people. Our kids, but also our young adults that are in our secondary programs. And we want to be and create the best academic, social, and civic opportunities and make them, each individual, ready for the big bad world that's out there. I understand that it's a family thing, it's also a school thing. And we want to be your partner in that process, and we are driven by that purpose. And any organization obviously needs to have some values. Some of this can be construed as aspirational. We do want to, in all the things that we do, put our students first. So as you're doing organizational stuff, logistical stuff, support stuff, but more importantly, classroom stuff, we want to put our kids first. So we have to think in terms of how do we elevate that all the time. The expectations that we have to have for our kids in the classroom and all the other activities that they participate in is extremely important to keep those high but realistic. And the only way to do that is working together. My word is team. I say team and team and team and team because no one individual is going to be successful by themselves unless they're special. And by special, I mean they're in another stratosphere. And there's a few people out there in the world that might make that, but most people need a team. And I can honestly say I'm definitely one of those people. I need a team. And I have a very good team that I'm very proud of. And I think that as we work together and grow together, we want to set the right example for everybody to follow. Being honest and authentic almost goes without saying, but any organization that doesn't have authenticity to it is probably going to struggle. So we work very hard to be honest, authentic, transparent. Individually and collectively, we want to be the very best stewards of the resources that we have. And that's a major challenge, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that because you all are business people, and hopefully we can have a business conversation and share a little bit more about that. But stewarding resources, the logistical support requirements behind that, we want to be responsible and good at that. So those summarize our values. So I'm going to switch over here to Dr. McDonald, and we're going to talk a little bit about our enrollment and what that looks like.
Thank you, Michael. One of my favorite things to talk about is kids. Not only the great things that we do and can do with kids, but also who our kids are. So we're going to share a little bit about the makeup of our district with you today, and then I'll turn it back over to Michael to talk a little bit about our staff makeup. So we currently, as of October 1st, have enrolled 12,021 students into our school district. It's a vastly different number than when I came to Lakeville as a teacher in 1999. We've seen significant growth over that period of time, and just in the last decade you can see that we've added over 1,000 students. So if you think about all of the students that are in Century Middle School right now, that's about the number of kids that we've grown in the past 10 years, and we expect to continue to grow as we see more building and more people joining our community. In terms of our demographics, you can see our demographic makeup of the school district. I think one of the interesting things that people often don't realize is that we have over 70 languages spoken in our district. Which is an astonishing number, and it brings a really beautiful level of diversity to our schools and to our system. We also have just under 1% of students that are experiencing homelessness or are highly mobile. So those are students that we look to support in other ways as they are having housing insecurity. We have 20% of just above that receive educational benefits. So oftentimes these are our students and families that may be experiencing poverty in their household. And then we serve over 86 square miles, so a very large area. And for those of you that are familiar with Lakeville and the areas around Lakeville, Elko, etc., New Market, we continue to have a lot of land and a lot of growth that is happening south of Lakeville proper itself. And when we take a look at our academic profile, we have just under 5% or 5.6% of students that are receiving EL services. So a minute ago I shared with you that we had over 70 different languages spoken. So we do provide services to students for whom English isn't their first language to help support that growth and learning in that area. We have 15.8% of our students that receive some type of special education services through an IEP. And then we have 2.7% of our students that have 504 plans, which are sort of academic supports that are built into their day for a variety of reasons. We have almost 30%, almost a third of our students that are participating in either a gifted program or some kind of advanced coursework. As you know, or maybe have experienced, our AP courses, in particular at the high school, are very, very highly attended. And this is a K-12 number, so that's the gifted programming as well as advanced classes that are secondary. And then we have always had excellent performance on the ACT. So as many of you may know, quite a number of years ago, we began to provide the ACT as an opportunity for all 11th graders during the school day. Our goal was really to try to get 100% participation in that, to provide all students an experience with a college level assessment. And oftentimes what you see is when you go from just a small portion of students in a school that take an assessment to a large percentage of students that take an assessment, often what you'll see is the trajectory of the score goes down because you have more students taking the exam, not just those that chose to take it. We have not seen that. Our scores have been steady over time around the ACT, and that tells us that we are doing a really good job for all of our students, not just some of our students. So that's one of the indicators. We'll talk data a little bit later, but the ACT is one of the indicators we look at when we look at how we're doing for our kids in our system. I would say that, interestingly enough, of the states that we have about a 68% of students statewide in Minnesota that take the ACT. And in the state of Minnesota, the score is higher than states that have similar percentages of students that take the exam. The highest in the country are Connecticut and Massachusetts. Their ACT scores are around 26, but they only have 8% of the entire student population in the state that take that test. So I think that gives you a piece of information. We are doing really well in Minnesota, and we are doing really well in Lakeville in terms of that assessment. One of the other things that we want to think about when we're looking at our system is how our students are feeling and experiencing our system, not just from an academic standpoint, but also from a student safety, a social, emotional, welcoming standpoint. And we also want to make sure that we're meeting their needs in terms of what they want and desire for their future. So in our survey from last year, we had 76 agree or strongly agree. These were all agrees and strongly agrees that school is a safe place to be. Obviously, that's a great number. We strive to be 100%. We want all of our students to feel safe and welcome in our schools. They feel like they have opportunities to engage in interests and engage socially, which is also an important part of growing up and coming through the system. And then we had 76 agree that their classes were relevant, engaging, and prepare them for their future. This is one, we'll talk a little bit later about students that are entering the workforce right away after high school. But this is just an example of, we see these numbers because we have partnerships in this room with the Chamber and others that provide opportunities for our students beyond just our academic offerings. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to Michael. He'll talk a little bit about our staff.
Thank you. As I shared earlier, many of our staff are in this room, and again, if you see them, please say thank you. They work extremely hard. But I want to talk more about numbers and how our staff is represented here on this particular pie chart. And you can see that almost half of it is tied with direct teaching and learning, whether that's in special ed or regular education across the system. We have 2,819 staff members. And then you see the other half is a lot of the support requirements necessary to help the education process of each and every one of our students. It's a challenge every single day. It's a challenge. It's a social challenge. It's a professional challenge for all of us to rally around our students and make sure that they get all that they need in order to be successful and to create those opportunities that the district is striving to do. Some fast facts here that I think are important to understand. When you talk about scope, Dr. McDonald talked a little bit about the area we have to cover. We have 19 facilities that have just about 2 million square feet of building space that we have to maintain. So that's your RTUs on your roofs, all the way down to making sure that each and every classroom has everything that it needs to have in order to be functional. One of the things, and I'll just give a shout out to our information technology department just for a minute. One of the goals we had earlier when I came back, I think I've been in every school at least twice, if not 3 times or more, just to kind of see what's going on and get a feel for how people are doing. But also, I'm looking at the classrooms and the technology. We had a goal to have a technology standard set in every classroom. And if you're going to integrate teaching and learning and utilize those technology tools properly, and the teacher can have everything that they may need, you need to have a standardized package. And it is absolutely spot on. The work that's been done there has been great. Every teacher I've talked to, one of the questions I ask them is your technology working? Because it's not just that it's there, does it work? And is it being integrated? And we're not showing that necessarily here, but I just want you to know that's going on in our classrooms as well, and it's super effective. I was over in Mr. Johnson's class at Century Middle School, and they were doing interactive work with Google Earth, doing measuring, engineering style type measuring, roads, bridges. I hung out with a guy who was doing Fenway Park because I just happen to like baseball a little bit. And it was fun working with him because we were measuring all parts of the field and different parts of the stadium itself and looking at the construction of it. So that's going on, and it's happening. Like, you don't have delay and all that those other kinds of things. And just want to share that with you. 2,800 breakfasts served each day. So if you're covering 86 miles of space, it's 10,000 miles a day that we're driving with yellow buses, right? And here's the thing. Our challenge is to do that on Chief Paulson's roads and Mary Liz Holberg's county roads without accidents. Hey, that's a tough task each and every day. And I know other schools do it, but covering 10,000 miles a day, every day, not a small thing. And we have 9,000 riders, student riders. We did a lot of work years ago on establishing, reducing the walking distance. I think my recollection in 2014 was roughly 2 miles. We moved it down to 0.8, and then we designated some roads like Ipava, County Road 50. Those are areas where you don't want kids crossing. So we changed our busing plan. It's cost us a little more, but it's also increased our ridership, and I think safety is enhanced that way. Could there be more work? Yes. I thought somebody was clicking their glass for me. I don't usually get that. And then lunches served, 8,600 lunches. And that's on a daily basis. So big operation. Big operation. And we want to do the best that we can for this community. Some other facts, 17,002 students and student staff devices are deployed across the district and in use. We do have some good ongoing comprehensive training to help our staff assess and prevent cyber threats, because cybersecurity is a big deal. And the district's done a fabulous job I don't know, I left and everything got so much better, I think I should just go away again. But seriously, it's outstanding. And we're always, you know, the cyber threat is a ongoing and evolutionary thing that's in a really tight turnaround. It's tough to keep up with the challenges that we face there. Again, comprehensive safety and security. You know, behavior assessments, having behavior assessment, anonymous tipping resources, having our SROs. Yeah, thank you so much for that. Good people. And then physical security systems. You have the best physical security system known to mankind in our school system. It's called 3D. And I just can't tell you. I could talk for hours about the effect that I think that has. It's designed so that teachers and students, staff don't have a lot to do in a very critical situation that would be what I always call a significant emotional event that could occur in a school system. But I just want you to know, you all were so gracious to fund that a few years ago. What was that, about 5 years ago, 6 years ago now? So I just, from my heart, say thank you for that, for our students and our staff. Community ed, they participated in, 44% of the community has participated in our community education programs. Lakeville area schools, families have participated, so individuals at 44%, families at 68%. Total enrollment in community education classes, 25,417. That's pretty good, and we like that. And if you can, bring us some more. And then the last one there is hours of community facility use. You know, we're north of 190,000 hours, and that's all the kids that use it for basketball or indoor anything that we have. And last year we didn't have a winter, I don't think. So what does that mean? We're going to get double whammy this time? Yay! Anyway, for whatever it's worth, having indoor capacity is a good thing. I'm gonna let Dr. McDonald's let me talk today. I'm gonna ask Dr. McDonald to please carry on.
Thank you. I'm going to wrap up my portion of the presentation with just sharing a little additional data with you. I mentioned earlier when we were talking about the ACT and students' sense of safety and security and welcoming in our buildings. Those are just part of the picture. So when we are talking about, we call them little humans, even though some of them are big humans. When we're talking about our students, what we want to always do is not hone in necessarily on one single metric or point of data related to how the system is performing and how we are supporting them. We really want to take a broad picture and try to take a snapshot in various different areas to give us the best information. So I shared a few of those with you earlier. This is from our academic report card. You may have seen and read there's been a lot of research and a lot of attention given to attendance since COVID. So we saw significant, across the country, significant reduction in student attendance post-COVID. And we know that we want kids to be in school for a wide variety of reasons, right? It is a safe space. It is a learning space. It is preparation for them in many different areas. It's a place where they can engage in things that they're passionate about, that make them happy. For some students, it's a place where they get their main meal of the day. So we started a bit of a campaign around attendance to try to make sure that students and families understood the importance of coming to school and how we are so excited to have your children and welcome them into our system. So if you look at our report card, you can see that we have 81.9% consistent attendance. That is above the state level. We have seen an increase in students with chronic absenteeism, which is those students that miss more than a certain number of days, as you can see. And so we try to work with those students and families individually to make sure that they are accessing school. When we look at our graduation rate, we have been very successful in terms of our graduation rate over the years. We've had some slight fluctuations in percentages, but as you can see over time, it's all over 90%. Last year at 93.7%, and again above the statewide trend in terms of graduation. When we look at our MCA scores, which is another data point that we like to take a look at, you can see the lighter shaded color on the bottom is the state performance, and then the darkened portion is Lakeville's performance on top of that. So you can see that for math, reading, and science, we are all above the state average. We have been for as long as I have been here. What we can see is we had a slight uptick in our scores in math last year, and our reading scores are basically flat. You can see a little bit of a downward trajectory. We have the READ Act, which I'll talk about in a minute, so we're hoping that that's really going to help us over time see that trajectory move in a more positive direction. And then finally, we have our science scores. In terms of what we're focusing on from a teaching and learning standpoint, we really want to look at all the data points. We want to increase our practices or improve our practices and our processes to show that increase in student achievement. We want to provide better supports for students, and those are in all areas. Michael started by talking about our mission and our vision, and it really is to make sure that we are providing support to students in all of the areas in which they need support to be successful, not only now but in their future. We're focusing on engagement this year, more so than we normally do. So we're putting some special focus around engaging families, awareness, communication. For those of you that get our newsletters, you're going to start to see more and more of those pieces in our newsletter about how we can engage and partner in learning with the students. Improving our professional practices, and then overall efficiencies and effectiveness of the district operations. That's beyond teaching and learning. We're really looking at that strategically from all areas, but how can we make improvements there? So specific to instruction and teaching and learning, how are we going to make those improvements? What are we actually going to do? So we are focusing on curriculum this year, and we'll talk a little. We focus on curriculum every year, but we have some special focus areas. We want to take a more systematic approach to teaching and learning, and what that really means is making sure that all students have access to experiences and learning environments across the system that are consistent and predictable. So it doesn't matter which building you go to or which teacher you have, we want to see that consistency pre-K-12 across our system. Differentiation to meet the needs of students, and then active engagement. Michael shared an example of using technology that was one way to actively engage students, but students are actively engaged in a wide variety of ways across the course of their day. So here's our how. We have quite a number of areas that are in curriculum or standards-based review process right now. This is the core work of our directors of teaching and learning. We are working on English, language arts, math, social studies, and science. Those are all under state review right now. And so we are working with teams of teachers and leaders to update our standards, update our curriculum, update our practices, and then implement in the classroom. Many of you know about the READ Act. That was new legislation from last year. Our teachers right now, well, it's a wide variety of teachers, primarily K-3, but also there's additional teachers this year that are participating. They're having 60 plus hours of training around reading instruction and the science of reading. We will replicate that next year with the next group, so that all of our teachers and all of our leaders and all of our volunteers and others that work with students around reading will be participating in some sort of training. And then finally, we are piloting a bar program this year at both of our high schools, which is really about building relationships with students, using data to help drive decisions on how to help students improve, focusing on their core instruction and family engagement. So that's new, and I know that our Kim Booty, our principal of Lakeville North, is sitting right in front of me, and from what we have heard so far, it's been a really positive experience for teachers and for students. So we're monitoring that closely. So as I wrap up, I just want to reiterate that we have just such amazing things happening in our classrooms every single day. We have an amazing core of teachers, we have an amazing core of leaders, and what we are always trying to do is figure out what are the best ways that we can support, what are the best ways we can improve, because I know Michael believes this too, that until we get our metric numbers to 100% across the board, we're not satisfied. So whether or not we can get there in our tenure, probably not, but we are hopeful and glass half full, and we'll continue to work with staff across the system and families across the system to try to be able to make the improvements that make the experience more worthwhile and better and more improved for our students. So with that, I thank you for your time, and I will turn it over to Michael to wrap.
Well, I'm going to talk about the upcoming levy. It's a couple weeks away that the district is engaged in. As clearly and simply as I can, lay out for you the financial challenges that we face as a system, not just in Lakeville, but across the state of Minnesota. And I know you all have businesses of various sizes. And for me, the most important thing to understand, I know when you run a business, everything has to be as efficient as possible to optimize your margins on whether you're providing a service or a product. I get that. We provide a service. We're teaching young people and preparing them, as we said earlier, giving them the maximum and optimal opportunities in order to be prepared to go out into that big bad world. And we want to do the best job that we can. And so, as Dr. McDonald shared, and I've tried to also make clear to everybody, there's the academic teaching and learning process, and then there's all the other things that have to come up alongside in order to make that those opportunities best and optimal, and for all the students that walk through our doors. And we have to figure that out every day and do that as best we can. So there's the personal and social wellness aspect. That's one piece of the puzzle. Our kids are in arts, activities, and athletics, and we provide as much opportunity as we can there. Career and college and future readiness is another element or piece to the puzzle of getting those kids ready. Family and school partnerships are absolutely essential. The strength of the family for our students makes a big difference in their performance. And that is, there's data that shows that, there's research that shows that. It is vital. And then academic and behavioral support. A classroom of 20 kids with one dysregulated child can create chaos. It's very difficult. And it's very difficult for our classroom leaders, our teachers, to manage that. And so, again, support is required to do that, and to do that at the right level. So this is an important chart that I want to talk about for a little while and ask you to bear with me. What you're seeing there on the solid line is what the funding would be going all the way back to 2003 to 2025. That illustrates what we would get if the legislature kept up with the CPI. Okay? And the dashed line below it shows what and how they fund. Very, very structurally established. The state of Minnesota legislature made a decision long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Some of you know what that means. That they were not going to fund at and keep up with inflation when they fund the public education system in the state of Minnesota. That's not a small thing, that's a big thing. So where does that get made up? The answer from the legislature, your community. That's where the difference gets made up, by your community. Now what you also don't see on there are some other unstated budget pressures. One would be unfunded requirements. That is, you will do this at the pain of death, but we're not going to give you any resources to do it. So, leaders, figure it out. Again, where does that fall back on? It falls back on the community. And this is not a value judgment. This is the fact. This is how it is. So, we have to deal with that, and I can't really change rates on whatever product we're producing. I have to keep up with inflation. I have unfunded mandates. And oh, by the way, we all know that our special education system is grossly underfunded. So what do? You have to go to your general fund, and that's what this depicts, the general ed formula, and you have to what we call cross-subsidize. Now that's not to put special education in the crosshairs of anything. It is to say that the budget pressure on this is exacerbated. Did I say that right? Okay. Exacerbated by those major pressures. And I just want everybody in the room to know that as business people. So this is where we start off every year. And it's a challenge, and it is the why around school districts having to levy. Now, levies become a choice, and there's a whole process around that. And I'm not pushing back on that at all. I think you should be very, very careful about when you do that. Because it's a tax. And I get that, okay? Whoops, I think I got to go like, there we go. Okay, now this chart here, what we're trying to show you here is referendum funding compared to peer school districts. Okay, so you have some listed there. I don't know if it's too small. I know, again, I'm challenged, but I'm going to tell you what those numbers represent, and then I'm going to give you some context of why this is an important piece to understand. The first thing, the schools going across the bottom, Prior Lake Savage, Shakopee, my son lives out in Shakopee, Eastern Carver County, then the most awesome school district in the whole wide world and in the state of Minnesota, Lakeville. That's your school district. Rosemont Apple Valley, Egan, a.k.a. Rave, known as 196. Eden Prairie, Bloomington, Wayzata, and Minnetonka, thank you. So here's to put some context to that, and not to go too far off the rails here. And I'm going to talk about growth, enrollment growth. And what this chart tells you, it just shows you we're at 1,771, and you can see that we kind of sit on just in the middle left side there. So Prior Lake Savage, since 2020-2021 school year, all the way to current, their enrollment has gone down 1.42%. So as I say that, look at the numbers and where those are at. Shakopee, down 5.25%. Eastern Carver County, down almost 3% at 2.7. I'm going to skip ours for a second. Rosemont, Apple Valley, Egan, aka 196 Rave, down 1.54. Now, Eden Prairie, up almost 5%, 4.8. Bloomington, up 1.6%. Wayzata, up almost 5% at 4.92. Minnetonka, 2.11%. Everybody ready for the Lakeville number? You should be loud and proud, 6%. So that, I mean, just throw the context at that. I'm not going to say anything more than that. I think it's important to understand that we have a challenge here in our system. But you have to believe in the premise of the little puzzle pieces I put together there that tell you about what it takes to educate a student in Minnesota, in Lakeville, in 2024. Okay, that's the other part of the context. Okay, I'm going to keep pointing at the screen. It's going to do nothing, so I got to go like that. There we go. So this is another thing that I want to be as crystal clear as I can be about it. This is not our student to teacher ratio. We would be, well, DOA, I don't know. We would be in real trouble here, okay? Real trouble here. What this is support staff. And I had them, we adjusted that so you can see it clearly. Counselors, social workers, behavior specialist positions. Our ratio is 512. The research I can find, don't get too upset about this, from the Department of Education, okay? I know that might set some people off. Don't be set off. It's research from them suggests 1 to 250 as the ideal spot to be operating at. Okay? Now there's a whole lot of stuff involved in that. We're not anywhere near that. And I'm not even suggesting we try to get there. Because I think, how many of you saw the movie A Bridge Too Far? Yeah, that's a bridge too far, okay? We don't want to do that. But we want to do something and get a little better and see if we can deal with some of the challenges that we have. So that's what that chart tells you, okay? That's all it says. So I think it's important to also say transparently, professionally, kindly, this is what we're going to put the money to if we are successful. I can't be any more clear about the numbers that we are asking for and in what areas we are looking to get that support. So that's as straightforward as I can put it. We're making some adjustments to our information that we're putting out there. Academic and personal supports in our middle schools and high schools, and the specific number of full-time employees we want to add, and all the way across there. Is anybody not able to see that? All right, if it's approved, this is what we think we think. We think we can increase academic performance. We can improve and increase college and career readiness for our students. We can create better and more positive school climates. We can improve our student well-being and provide comprehensive support to every student. That's what we're trying to do at a slightly improved ratio for our kids. And we have some challenges still. I'm going to have to say this. I was trying not to use that word COVID. It's never an excuse, and there's no victims in this room. Me least of all. But there is residual and collateral effects from what the state had us do, and that was take all our kids out of school for an extended period of time. And that is not a value judgment on that either. But there are effects. Tax impact, I think that's kind of the message that that we can provide to you. It's $13 a month on a median income. We got average. Okay, average at $465,000 home. More homes are being built. I was literally with Justin and we were talking about this and looking at, I know it's changed, it's dropped a lot. That happens when the economy goes down and the interest rates go up. Imagine that. But it's still pretty good, still pretty big, and we're going to get more kids coming into Lakeville. There's no question about that. Now I have a theory, and it's for whatever it's worth. When families choose to come to Lakeville, is in their decision tree school systems? I'm going to say yeah. I'm going to say yeah. Because when I moved into Lakeville in 2005, I won't give you the whole story, I'll just tell you, that was a question. My wife and I, we have one son, and yeah, where's he going to go to school? And what school district do we want to move into? $465,000 average cost for homes, pretty substantial. But we're going to grow. Lakeville's going to continue to grow. And I just want everybody in the room who feels the spirit to help us deal with that growth and go all the way back to that orange chart. We have to deal with the collateral from COVID. We have to deal with the growth that's coming in Lakeville. It is the best problem for any school district to have. The very best problem. So, again, there are no victims around here. We want to do our best. Lakeville is an awesome community because of a lot of people sitting in this room, but others that are not in this room. Our schools need to be the very best that they can be. And I'm going to do everything I can to help that process because I love Lakeville. Ballots, aren't those fun? Funny, we don't have any hanging chads on these ballots. Anyway, you can see the question there. Again, it speaks for itself. You can look at it closer online. This is just I just wanted to look backwards a little bit and try to reaffirm with everybody in this room or anybody who will listen to this presentation that our goal is to keep our promises with any dollars that are given to us magnanimously from the community. And this just gives you a rundown on back from 2015 and some of the levies. Obviously, getting Highview Elementary stood up and operating, is a high need scenario for anybody that's in a school system. So we want to do everything we can to keep our promises. It goes back to integrity and transparency, and I know that matters. One of the things we looked at, Morris Leatherman, there was a community survey, and during the last couple of years, the Lakeville Area School District Administration and Board has spent tax money effectively and efficiently. We get what do you call that, a C plus, C minus? C, we get a C. I got to do better than that. I trust the school board and administration to do what is right for students in this district. That's a pretty good grade. It isn't the best grade. We want the best because this is Lakeville. This is Lakeville. We only do the best. We have a lot to be proud of in our community, starting right here with our chamber and all of you who are members. And I can't say thank you enough for all that you do for us. We are very, very grateful and humbled by just having an opportunity to talk about it and share with you. We have an awesome community. I go back to thinking about where things were just a decade ago. And there's been so much growth and improvement, even though there's been some incredibly challenging times across our country, across our state, and literally in our community. But we're better than the challenges that are presented to us because we overcome them. So I'm just asking you to just help our kids. Just help our kids any way that you can. And I would personally be grateful, but more professionally, the whole team would be grateful.